In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can actually import the Pacman model and also animate or rig it inside your real life footage. So without further ado, let's get started. As you can see, I already got my clip here, and I also have a 360 environment of the place where I actually filmed the clip. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to drag this clip here down to the timeline. So yeah, we have a clip here. I won't be needing the whole scene, so I'm just going to be taking some part of the scene because there was a part where it's actually blurry. So I'm going to be taking this part out by pressing Alt and open bracket to take that part out. And just here, I'm going to be ending my track here, so I'm going to press N on my keyboard and then right click and then trim come to work area, just because I just need just this area. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I have to track the camera to track this scene to make sure I can add in 3D objects. So click on track camera. If yours is not visible, you can actually come over to Windows and then click on track. Once you click this menu here actually pops out. So let's wait till it's finished tracking. Okay, now guys, so it's done tracking. If I should click this now, you can actually see this dots all over the screen. You can actually, these are the tracking point because it's finished tracking. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I just have to create I can actually just click on the track now and then click on create camera, and then there's actually a 3D spot. Like I can actually just come over here again or just click create solid. If I should play this video now, you can actually see it's actually placing on the 3D airspace. Ooh, that's nice. So the next thing we need to do now is need to create a solid. I'm going to be naming this new solid. I'm going to be calling it as element. Mind you, for this, you're actually going to be needing the element 3D plugin for this. So those of you that having the element 3D plugin, you need to get this. So let me shut down this layer. Yeah, so we're having this element layer. Sorry, let me do this. So we're having this element layer now. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is come over to my effects and preset and type out elements. This is a plugin for Video Copilot. So yeah, so next thing I'm going to do is come over to click scene setup. So now I have to import my 3D object. Mind you, 3D object will be available for only those who are actually on my channel membership. So I have to import the 3D object now. So click on import. So I already have it here. So I'm just going to make sure everything's checked and then click on OK, and then come over here. It's actually really small, so I'm just going to click on normalize size. So voila, we have it here. So mind you guys, the 3D object of this Pacman will only be available for those who actually sign up for my channel membership. If you want to sign up for my channel membership, you can actually click the link below, or you can actually go down to my channel and then click join channel membership. Well, benefits of joining my channel membership is that you actually get access to every of my VFX masterclass tutorials. There are a lot of tutorials that I haven't actually posted on my channel, but they are actually available on my channel membership. You also get access to free 3D packs and models and stock footage we're actually using from our sci-fi short films, and yeah, a lot more be coming your way. Yeah guys, so now we actually have the model here. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is that I have to do some texturing to this thing. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the top, make sure it's actually on top of this grid. So it needs to be at least at the top. Yeah, so that's good now. So the next thing I want to be doing to this is I will need to be adding a floor where we'll be adding a shadow, so you can actually see the floor is actually sitting exactly at that spot. So I'm going to be scaling this up. I need to make this long because you know the part is actually long. It's actually coming from back, like back to forward. So I just need to scale this to make sure it's really long, and then make it a little bit wide to the left and the right. Yeah, so this is good enough. So now we need to texture this thing, okay? Because if we can actually check to the back, we actually see the silver texture. The silver texture is actually that of the teeth. So let me go over to the mesh view, because if I actually click the Pacman model and then go over to the mesh view, actually slide down and then click on this, you can actually see, let me turn off the plane model so we don't see the plane now. You can actually see the teeth. Okay, this is about it. So we need to change that, we need to get that. So let me shut down this other jaw. So I'm going to shut down the jaws too. So yeah, so we need to make this silver color. So go over to your texture, go over to physical. Yeah, I'm going to be using the chrome texture. So all I just need to do is just drag this to the texture. Okay, that didn't work that way, so let me just come over from here. I'm just going to do it from here, chrome texture, and you just drag this to here, and then voila. So you can actually see it now. It's not all silver shiny, all looking good. So now we need to go back to the for the yellow texture. I can actually just put in this red one. Let me just go back to the texture. I'm just going to take my time to texture this so everything will be looking good. So for the okay, so this is part for the body. So as you can actually see, the body is actually be a little bit reflective. So I want it to be like this one here. I'm just gonna drag this red model to it. You can actually see it's looking all red and shiny. But now I'm gonna change this red color into yellow. So we're having that reflective yellow texture. So click back to view, change this from yellow from red to yellow. So we got a yellow now. So I'm also going to increase the glossiness and then reflectivity. So this is the reflectivity. You can see as I bring it up, the color is a little bit downwards. I'm going to also select yellow to this. So the reflectivity also brings out the yellow. So increase, yeah. So I think this will be good enough. So if I should turn back the plane on now, if I should go back to the stuff now, you can actually see this now. The Pacman model is actually on 3D airspace. You can actually see it now. It's just there. It's not moving. No light control. Everything is just looking that way. So now let's head on to the next phase. So the next thing we need to do now is bring down this image. So I'm going to be taking down this image. This is the 360 environment because we need to start making it look more realistic and start making everything look good. So I'm just going to be taking down this image. This is the image I took. So I'm going to drag this down. Or let's say I don't want to even use this. I can just actually use this from here. But let's say I don't want to use this image now. I don't want to use it from here. So I can just click on element. Okay, let me just use it. So I'm going to be using this as my 3D environment. This is the image. I'm going to select my element, come over to effect and preset, customize layer, texture, texture mapping. So click on layer one and then select the image. Yeah. So that will be using that for a 360 environment. So as you can actually see it, this now you can actually see we have the element 3D model, but we can actually see the plane we added to the scene. So I'm just going to come back to my element layer. This is because the orientation is not properly fixed. Come over to, if you slide down group one, come over to particle replicator. I think I should take this down to a little bit of about 3. Yeah, okay, 3 will be good enough. Just put this at 3. Yeah, so we're actually at a good phase now. So yeah, we got this now. So we need to be adding everything, the shadow, environment, reflectivity and shadows and all the stuff, and we'll be doing a lot of that stuff inside the element 3D. So now let's go back to the element 3D. This is where we actually do all the magics and everything. Now, so for the first thing we need to do, we need to add in the environment. So I'm going to click on the environment. Remember we added the texture, that texture we added to the customized texture layer. This is the image I told you about. So I'm going to be adding this. You can see here the texture, the color actually just changed. We can actually increase the brightness. If you feel like this is not good enough, you don't want to add it from there, you can actually add it from your file. Let me see the environment file. You have it in your file. You can just actually add it from your file. Mistakes. So this is the environment texture. This is it here. I'm just going to click this and then you can see it's wow, it's actually even looking much brighter than adding. So I think the best way to do is, yeah, you guys can actually add this from your file will be much better to add it from. So I can also increase the brightness to this, or decrease or increase the brightness. So click OK. So now we've got this on. You can actually see the environment actually reflecting on the object. Yeah, so that's not all. So the next thing we want to do now, we need to make sure this this floor is actually casting shadow. So I'm gonna be going down to the object layer, the plane layer, then click this, slide down and then click make sure you turn on this matte shadow. Now you can actually see anything. This is because we've actually set it to actually be casting shadow. If we should go back to the layer now, you can actually see it's no longer here. It's actually here, but you can actually see it though. It's actually here. So I'm going to be bringing this down a little bit here because this is where we actually want this object to be placed on. We need it down here. Yeah. So yeah, let me go back to the element again. So we're just going to be going back and front to make sure this is looking good. Let's turn this back on. Let's turn the layer back on because we need to be seeing what we're actually doing to make sure everything is actually appropriate before we actually start doing things. Okay, we can actually seal the layer. Let's rotate this a little bit. We need the environment to be up to that end, that extreme end, the extreme. Yeah, because we need it to be this straight to that end. Okay, so now that's it for there. So now we need to turn on the shadow of this thing. So if you should turn on the new and then add the lights to this thing. Sorry, right click on new and then add the lights. I'm going to be adding the point light. Make sure the shadow is actually turned on and then click OK. So let's take this up a little bit. Click on the light and then take this up. You can't actually see any shadow right now. Okay, so go back to the element layer and slide down to render settings and then click on shadows and enable shadows. Yeah, so you still can actually see the shadow because we haven't actually turned on the shadow layer inside the element 3D layer. So now go back to the element 3D and then come over to the max the plane layer and then slide down and then click on matte shadows. So click OK. It's still not available, so I'm just going to be changing these lights to the parallel lights. Okay, yeah, the shadow is actually now available. Also going to be decreasing the shadow darkness a little bit to about 37, or you can actually take this to 45. Yeah, this is not actually looking good now. So the next thing I want to be doing now is making it look more realistic. So I'm just going to go over to the element layer and then turn on the over the render settings and then turn on the ambient occlusion. So this is it to make it look more realistic. Enable ambient occlusion and I'm going to turn on the ray tracer now. So yeah, it's actually looking good, but I can actually see this bit of shadow that looks like it's actually bouncing, which is not actually good. So I'm still going to take this to the group position, take the position a little bit downwards because it's not actually looking that good, and check this a bit. You can actually use it to control the position though. So yeah, that's it. And then now to make it look more realistic, we need to change some settings to make it look more plastic and realistic. So for the bias, go over to the advanced option under the ambient occlusion, change this to 1 because this might also affect your picture quality when it's going to be like a glitch. So yeah, and then for the gamma, it changes gamma to about 3 will be good enough. Yeah, so now go over to your shadows. Where is it? Shadows. Oh yeah, sorry, go over to your shadows and then turn from shadow mapping to ray traced. So this is also another thing you need to also look into. And then under your ambient occlusion, go over to your okay, now slide down to your output to make it look more realistic. Go over to this your gamma. The gamma is actually what makes it look like it's even more realistic. This is like adding salt and sugar, like according to what a guy said. It makes it look more realistic, so you can actually try to play with these settings to see how it goes. So as you guys can see, it's actually looking a little bit good for now. Yeah, so now the next thing we need to do is on how we can actually animate and rig this thing. That's a part 3. So now go over to your scene setup back in element 3D. So now we're back in our scene in element 3D. You can actually see the texture, the model and everything. So what we're actually going to be doing, we are going to be splitting this into different parts. So now we're going to be splitting this into 3 different parts. So I'm going to press Ctrl D again of 1 and then pressing this again Ctrl D. So now we're actually having 3 groups here. So I'm going to leave this first one to be group 1, and then group 1 I'm going to be naming this as floor. This is actually going to be our flow. Mind you guys, take note of this. I'm actually doing this so everybody does not forget this. Then group 2, I'm going to be naming this as head, and then on group 3 I'm going to be naming this as body, jaws, jaws and teeth. Let's put it that way, jaws and teeth, because this is where it's going to belong to. So now for the floor, I'm just going to go over to this first one and I'm going to delete this Pacman out of the floor. So it's just going to be the floor layer, which is actually here. Yeah, we're actually turning on the matte shadow so you can actually see anything, but it's actually there. So on this next one, the head, we're just going to be needing just the head. So I'm going to be deleting the floor. Now we have just the Pacman model, but what we need now, we just need only just the head. So I'm going to switch. If you come down here, you can actually see anything. So I'm just going to switch back to the mesh view so you can actually see everything here. This is actually just the head. This is the head. This last one here is the head. So I'm going to be turning off all these other layers just to so that we can just have the head. So I'm going to turn this back on and then I'm going to turn off all this layer one after the other. This is actually stressful though, but I'm just going to do it for the sake of tutorial so you guys can actually learn this. It's actually much fun to learn. Damn. Okay guys, so finally I actually turn off all the layers. You can actually see just the head left on this Pac-Man. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is coming down to the jaws, and I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to be turning off all the layers, and I'm going to be leaving just the I'm going to be turning off the layer and then leaving just the, what's it called, the jaws and the teeth. So I'm going to be first of all deleting the plane, coming back to the Pac-Man model, open it down on mesh view and start turning off. I think I just have to turn off just the head for this one. Yo, wow, this one's actually easy. I forgot. Yeah. So now one thing we need to do, which we don't need to forget, these things are actually serious. So I'm just going to change the group one. Floor is going to be group one. The teeth is head is going to be on group two, and then the teeth is going to be on group three. This is very important, guys. Do not forget this. If you forget this, your animation is not going to work. Okay. And then for the floor, yeah, so this is okay. So I'm going to click okay. Now you can actually see this thing actually jumped up. This is because the floor is on another layer, and then the head, everything is actually on different layers. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So now what we're going to do, we're actually going to right click and then create new, and then I'm going to create a new null, and then we're going to call this let me rename this to be Pacman. Let me just say Pacman controller. This is what we're going to be using in controlling the position, the movement of the Pac-Man. So now come over to the elements, close this. Now remember, we have three groups. We have the first group, which was actually the floor, the second group, which is actually the head, and the third group, which is actually the jaws and the teeth. So what we're going to be doing, we need to create nulls from each of this group. We're not going to create any null from the group one because this is the floor. We don't want to move the floor. We want to move the Pac-Man, which is the head and the jaws. So go over to group two, open create group null, and then click on create null. So we actually have this now. So group two, which is actually, I'm going to be renaming this as I'm going to be renaming this as head. As we all know, head is actually done, because if I should click and move this now, just watch this. You can actually see the head is actually moving, so we don't want to move that. Okay, or I should just move to the left so you guys can actually see it. You can see the head is actually moving from the body, so we don't want that to move. So the head, and then go over to the element back again, and then this time go back to group three. Group three is actually the jaws. So click on this and then create null, and then so we have group three. Yes, I'm going to right click and then rename my changes to jaws and teeth, like we actually did back. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to select this jaws and head, or jaws and teeth, and then link this to the Pacman controller. Yeah, controller. Yeah. So yeah, so now if I should click the Pacman controller, click on toggle switch, make sure this is actually 3D. I forgot this thing needs to be on 3D, so you can actually move in 3D space, left and right, up and down and back. So if I should move this now, you can actually see it's actually following it. So everywhere it goes, it follows it. Yeah, that's how it is done. Yep. And one last thing you can actually notice, the shadow is actually floating a little bit. We need to take the shadow down. The shadow is actually a little bit to the top, so I need to take the shadow down a little bit. So I'm just going to come back to the group one, and I have to create a null for this one. Come over to group one, or I can actually just move with the position here down. I don't need to create a null. I can actually just move it down. I think this is the position. Yeah, so it's actually this way down, stick it down. Yeah, and I can actually come back to my Pacman controller and then take this down a little bit so it doesn't look as if it's actually floating on airspace. So voila, we actually have this now. So now let's come over to the animations and rigging of this character. So now if I should take this backwards, let's say I want to animate this now, come over to your controller, press P on the keyboard, and then take this back using the Z axis. You get back. Ooh, we can actually see as we're going back, it's actually going down. This is because that thing is actually slanted. So I'm just going to take this up a bit so it doesn't go down like it's actually sinking. So take it back. This was the sake of tutorial. This might not be perfect though. So take it back. You guys can actually take your time to make yours look really good. So here, I think here will be good enough. So now I'm just going to take this up a bit. Yeah, I think this is good enough now. So I'm just going to click on the position here, and then take this a little bit, few frames forward, like this part, and then I'm going to take this all the all the way to the screen. Why is this thing not coming to the screen? XZ. Okay, we need to take this. Okay, so It's actually looking as if it's actually coming big. Yeah, this is because it's actually coming closer to the screen. Yeah, I don't want it to come this way. I want it to come this way. So keep it coming. It actually look like as if it's levitating. You can actually take your time to work on this to make sure yours is actually looking good. If you're actually having problems, you can actually switch your camera views from um, top to left so you can actually see, and then zoom out a bit. So this is the controller. Where is the Pacman? Pacman is actually off the screen right now. Okay, see the controller, the no controller. If I should zoom in, let me just take this back so you guys can actually see that I'm actually still in control. You can actually see the Pacman is still there. So yeah, I just need it to go off. This is the camera. This is the camera here. So and this is the Pacman controller. So let me just move this off the screen so it doesn't block the camera. I'm gonna take this down. I'm actually viewing from the left view, okay, so you guys can actually understand what I'm actually doing, just to make sure the animation is actually looking a little bit good. So now once I'm done that, I'm just going to come back and click on active camera. So yeah, so if I should play this now, this is what we should get. Hopefully this is actually looking good. Moving, but it's actually looking like as if it's levitating, and then I'm not actually liking the fact that it's actually levitating, okay. So but I'm just going to come over to this part where it's actually looking like as if it's levitating, and I'm going to take this to the middle and then take this down so it's actually still sitting on the floor. Yeah, yeah, this part should be good on the floor, and then I'm actually going to come back to this left view and then make this part where it's actually the last scene, and then make sure I'm actually at the last frame. I'm actually going to take this down a bit so this thing does not look like as if it's flying, okay. Yeah, you can actually take your time to work on this, okay guys. This is just for the sake of tutorial so you guys can understand it. So yeah, we have this now. Yeah, pretty much not actually looking that bad. So the next thing we need to do is that we need to animate the mouth actually moving, because you can actually see from the video the mouth was actually moving open and close, so we need to do that now. So come over to your element layer, go over to your scene setup. Now come over to the jaws, because this is what we want to animate. This jaws is what we need to animate. So right, just remember, right click and then set the auxiliary animation to channel 1. And then the next thing we need to do is that you need to change this the anchor point to this middle, so the rotation can actually work from the middle. So I'm just going to click on this, the direction tool, and then click on this lock target and then come over this way, and I'm going to change this up to the top. Yeah, make sure it's at the top and also at the middle, so the control will actually be moving from the middle. Let me take this down a bit, so it's actually going to be moving, the command is actually going to be moving from the middle, okay. Yeah, so click OK on this. So now if I should come over to this group 3, remember it was actually under group 3, and then under auxiliary animation and rotation, if I should rotate this now, you can see it's actually opening the mouth. You can see it. Wow, so I actually got this. So now I'm going to be changing it back to 0. Sorry, 0. So turn on the stopwatch as it's at 0. Press U on your keyboard on the under the element layer to see your keyframe. Take this a bit to the front, backwards, and then I'm going to be come down here over to the element layer and then click this again to create another keyframe, and then go back to the middle, and then I think you should open this a bit. Sorry, open the mouth a bit. So open it a bit to whatever length you want this to be open to, okay guys. So we actually have an animation now. If I should play this now, this is what it looks like. You can see opens the mouth and then it closes it back. You can see it. Wow, that's looking really cool, really cool. So now we want to make this looking really fast, so I'm just going to select all these layers, all these keyframes I did, and then take this back and then make everything look closer, bring everything closer. And if I want it to be continually repeating this mouth animation like you actually want to see in the video, I'm just going to select all, highlight and select all this, copy this, go a little bit forward, paste this, and then this time select all of them again, Ctrl C, move a bit forward, paste this. Let me adjust this to get a little bit closer. Now select all again, Ctrl C, move forward, and then paste this. Yeah, so if I should play this now, this is what we get. So guys, you can actually see that this is actually looking all good now.
So you can actually see how it's all looking really cool. The Pac-Man animation is actually moving. Yeah, and one last thing I'd like you guys to actually notice is that this, as it comes up on the screen, you actually see this black hole thing. This is because the Pac-Man was actually going into the camera. So I would like to actually wipe out the layer immediately the Pac-Man goes off to the screen. So I'm just going to go back one frame backwards. So press T on the element layer, press T, set the opacity, and then move a little bit forward and then reduce this down to 0. So we don't get to see that black layer immediately goes off. So you can actually see that. Yeah, it's all good now. So yeah, that's actually it, and you can actually take your time to make this look more realistic and more fantastic, add more animations, and yeah, to it. Yeah, so that's literally how I was able to make the Pac-Man animation. I'd love to see what you guys can actually come up with. Don't forget to actually send a link or comment below your link to any of the video you make on this Pac-Man, and the models actually available on our channel membership. Peace out guys for now. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time.